Good evening, this is Maestro Cortello with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. On the blue side, we have Dullahan as this astoundingly powerful Hive Tyrant who can get some extremely powerful weapons, tanky, does not get suppressed or knocked down, and just generally amazing. On the other side of things, we have Peacemaker, another Imperial Guard player. I've been doing a lot of Imperial Guard replays, but mostly featuring Stoned Elf Boy. Peacemaker is another Imperial Guard player who also plays the Commissar, and he is also pretty good. And the Commissar, very well-dressed guy, although his face is all fucked up. Kind of a slightly tanky hero with a lot of support abilities. And just generally a boss. Peacemaker actually uses his Commissar very aggressively, just running over to this victory point. Instead of, he doesn't even have his natural power capped yet. While Dullahan is going for much more traditional, just capturing all of his nearest resource points to get his economy going. But Peacemaker, on the other hand, already has the victory points, taken away 20 of them. And Dullahan, although he hasn't even captured his natural victory point. His Hormagaunts are capturing the contested victory point, though. And Sentinel now. Sentinel, good for definitely bleeding Tyranid units. Dullahan goes for that 2 Termagants into Spore Mines play that I've been seeing a lot lately. Probably especially good on this map because there are actually garrisons to deal with. And this is basically one of Tyranid's few garrison counters. Fight between the Commissar and the Hive Tyrant. Not a winning fight for the Commissar. As cool as he is, the Hive Tyrant is just too big and too strong. Has both better starting health and starting damage than the Commissar. And when upgraded, will still be tougher and more powerful. Sentinel does get upgraded to the ground pound. Now costs 50 requisition and 15 power. 5-0 requisition, 1-5 power. Obviously, still not that expensive, and it is kind of a no-brainer upgrade. You will definitely want it, but it just makes the Imperial Guard economy a little, kind of nerf the Imperial Guard economy a little bit. Actually make this Tier 1 cost some power. Because this is a Tier 1 that Peacemaker could get nothing else and just take this Tier 1 all the way to Tier 2. Just these 2 Guardsman squads and the Sentinel. Very standard Tier 1 build from the Imperial Guard. Probably the most standard Tier 1 build. On the other side, we have Dullahan with his 2 Termagants, which still do not have the Toxin Sacs upgrades, and a Warrior Brood. This is also a very standard build for the Tyranids. The only thing that's missing are the Toxin Sacs, since they are an extremely good upgrade and pretty much a no-brainer upgrade. Will this be a dead Sentinel, though? Sentinel getting way overextended, now getting repairs, but still needs to run out of there so it does not die. And Guardsmen shooting a lot, but they will not win with a Warrior Brood jumping all over them and knocking them to the ground. So it's pretty even so far. Even though Dullahan has more units, Peacemaker is making some very interesting aggressive plays that are actually paying off. Does need to repair his Sentinel. And we do have that energy shield going up from the Commissar Lord. He does upgrade to the Power Sword. Does do power melee damage, 50 DPS. Also has a very good ability that's kind of like the Force Commander's Battle Cry. Makes him do special attacks with every attack. Also increases his speed by 2. Of course, it does take energy, so that is energy taken potentially out of his energy shield. The Sentinel needs to really be careful. Has been at less than 30% health for like the past 2 minutes. And even these Guardsmen are going to take some casualties if they stay in there much longer. Dullahan pressing the advantage, but Peacemaker kind of holding his ground in a way, being very brave with his units. The Hive Tyrant does have the Warp Field, just another energy shield for those tanky melee heroes. He's already immune to knockback, so obviously it's not going to make him immune to knockback, but just makes him allow him to tank even more damage. He already has over 1,000 hit points, and he can get even more with this Warp Field. Dullahan does press his advantage to get the middle victory point, and he still has most of his units up here, but we do have the Catachan Devils. Going to be very good for disrupting those Termagants, especially if they bunch up together like they just did. And they really need to upgrade to the Toxin Sacs. Again, it's a no-brainer upgrade. Increases Termagant damage by 45%, which is pretty big if you think about it, which means they start out with pretty bad damage. At the start, out of the gate, Termagants do something like, they basically do the same damage as scouts, and then with the upgrade, they do the same damage as tax. Roughly. And again, Dullahan is bunching them up, so they're getting knocked down from one old reliable. He needs to split them up. Now that he knows that Dullahan does have these Catachan Devils, and this Commissar just tanking like a boss, I feel like whenever I watch Commissar replays, he's always basically just like fighting the entire army and not dying. Flare goes off. I don't think that was really necessary, considering the Sentinel can back off faster than the Termagants can advance, and they are only just now getting their crippling poison, their toxin sacks, which will give them the crippling poison ability, which I believe can snare the Sentinel. Warrior Brood, I didn't note, but I did see that they have upgraded to the Barbed Strangler. And meanwhile, I think Peacemaker has been so aggressive and focused so much on fighting that I think for most of the part, he hasn't even gotten these resource points up here. I don't think they've been decapped by Dullahan. I think they just haven't been capped in the first place. Now, this Hive Tyrant getting a little too close to Termagants, to Catachan Devils. He actually should not chase down Catachan Devils, or that might actually get him to die. His Catachan Devils just do a ridiculous amount of damage in melee. And even though he has a ton of health, the Hive Tyrant could probably take out a few models. He does not want to risk dying to Catachan Devils. Does not want to risk dying at all when he doesn't have to, when he's one of the toughest heroes in the game. Actually have a multi-laser turret going down from Peacemaker. Peacemaker still has not captured this power point or this requisition point. Or even this requisition point over here. So he doesn't have as much resource income, but he had a lighter build for most of Tier 1. We do have a Brood Nest from Dullahan, reinforces Tyranids, also gives them health regeneration. That's what we see all these green hexagons for. And now we just have the Commissar again, just standing in here, fighting the entire Tyranid army, even though they're getting reinforced. Probably going to retreat now. Pretty good use of this Commissar, being very aggressive with him, but also knowing when to back him off. So I think he's getting a lot of mileage out of his Commissar right now, taking advantage of this Power Sword. It's going to be good against pretty much everything. It only gets bonus damage against the Warrior Brood, but these are weak squads, the Hormagants and the Termagants. Multi-laser turret, almost dead. Flare does go down to reduce the range, but these units are already close enough. Catachan Devils have to go, and that's kind of sad since the Catachan Devils are probably the highest impact unit that Peacemaker has aside from the Commissar himself. And that multi-laser turret was scuttled because it was going to go down. Peacemaker did have to back off, but he's often backing off sometimes without really retreating, or he's one of the things Peacemaker's doing, even though he's not doing so well on map control, he's managing his fights really well, doing a really good job of not retreating too early, but also not leaving his units in too long. Got it. Not too long, not too short, just right. Goldilocks style. And he's actually getting a lot of his... This unit now close to dying might go down. So now kind of overextending. Sentinel also very close to death, but he's still keeping it in play. Just really microing it very well. Playing, in a way, almost risky, but he's just managing it so well that hasn't actually suffered any significant losses yet. But this Brood Nest over here is giving the Tyranids a lot of staying power with both health regeneration and the reinforcing. Peacemaker is going to have some reinforcements of his own, courtesy of the Chimera that he's building right now, while Dullahan is already anticipating the Chimera and getting a Venom Brood unit that does AV damage. A lot of Tyranid players seem to complain about it, they complain that Tyranids don't really have good enough AV. This is something where I actually won't claim to know better. To have both a grenade and old reliable melting those Termagants, especially with the Assault Kit Stormtroopers, gives them extra range and extra range damage. They do about 75 DPS piercing, which is about as much as a Warp Spider squad that does not have its X-Arc. Right now, Dullahan kind of has the advantage here, though. He has had the staying power of his Brood Nest, giving him reinforcements and also healing his units, which is giving him stronger field presence. then Peacemaker. But now Peacemaker has the Chimera to kind of do the same thing. He just needs to be a little more careful with it than I think. Obviously, the Chimera does need to be microed, and it is getting shot up by the Venom Brood. Upgrading to the range synapse is going to make these termagants even more dangerous than they already are. Already pretty good with the toxin sacks, and going to be really good with the range synapse. But I think Dullahan just... Oh, wow. He came really close to losing that termagant brood. And the Sentinel goes down while I'm not looking. Alright, so he was microing that Sentinel pretty well. Even keeping it in play, even with very low health. We have an Infestation Capillary Tower going down. I feel like it's strange to use that. That means Dullahan is actually intentionally using it for the buff that it gives, rather than the disruption that it has of being used under an enemy unit. Catachan Devils capping now. I feel like maybe Guardsman squads should cap and Catachan Devils should shoot, because I think Catachan Devils do more damage, and they can also disrupt with any of their abilities. They actually use the Smoke Bomb to reduce their range damage, and the Brood Nest that was right here from Dullahan went down, but Dullahan already has another one going up, starting to go up right now. So Brood Nest, a global ability unique to the Hive Tyrant, reinforces and provides health regeneration. I think in retail it only reinforced. In the Elite mod it also provides health regeneration. I think it wasn't really worth getting in retail, but now it's apparently pretty good. Dullahan also somehow got a back cap. I think he was actually back capping with his Hive Tyrant, which is not a great use of the Hive Tyrant. If anything, back cap with a Termagant Brood or a Hormigaunt Brood, and then have the Hive Tyrant fight. The Hive Tyrant, but now the Hive Tyrant is in a really bad position. He's surrounded by Catachan Devils. He does not want to do that, and he's in a lot of trouble. Catachan Devils also using Old Reliable on the Hive Tyrant support, and this Hive Tyrant is dead. Definitely just way overextended. Not such a good play. I wonder if Dullahan knows what... I mean, I think Dullahan actually mains the Inquisitor, so he's an Imperial Guard player. He should know better than to leave pretty much any unit in melee with Catachan Devils. Mines go down from Peacemaker, but they're already detected by this Warrior Brood, but it doesn't look like Dullahan's going to spend too much time shooting at it. And unfortunately, now it's Dullahan, now it's Peacemaker with the staying power, the courtesy of his Chimera, which does need repairs, though. Very dangerously low on health. He does know that the Venom Brood has been forced off, but he still has to worry about this Warrior Brood. Peacemaker is himself using his Commissar to idle instead of cap. I was going to say he's using it as a capping unit. Now he's using it as a capping unit. We have a forward Brood Nest, like a frontline Brood Nest from Dullahan. That's his third Brood Nest so far. A lot of Brood Nests, a lot of firepower from both these teams. More ranged firepower from Peacemaker, though, with courtesy of the Chimera. His reinforcement point actually shoots. He's obviously got 2 Guardsman squads. They both have their Commissar upgrade. The Commissar himself does do pretty good damage, and that's also extra 2 Guardsmen. Obviously, the Stormtroopers do fantastic range damage, and now fully upgraded Catachan Devils do a ton of range damage, but they are getting knocked down, in a little bit of trouble, need to be reinforced and retreat. A lot of explosions going down here. I think that was a frag grenade from the Assault Kit Stormtroopers. A good micro from Peacemaker to keep his Chimera alive, even when he's losing the fights. Obviously, just a lot of reinforcements going down from both players, especially Dullahan with multiple Brood Nests. And now we have Ogrins on the field. Super heavy infantry melee unit. That means they will not take a lot of damage from either of Dullahan's range squads. And they'll definitely beat out the Warrior Brood in melee. And right now they're even beating out the Hive Tyrant in melee. Are we going to get another wipe? I think we will. Dullahan is overextending this Hive Tyrant. That's a dead Hive Tyrant. And Hive Tyrant goes down for a second time. And then 2 Capillary Towers side by side. Peacemaker could destroy those for the red, and also just to prevent Dullahan from getting the buff of those Capillary Towers. Commissar Lord just capping right here, relaxing, putting his sword on the ground, while the rest of these units are getting blown up by the mines under their feet that were thrown down by the Commissar. Commissar decides to stop capping, but now he's getting overextended and he will die. So now we have a hero wipe on the Commissar. Neither heroes on the field, but look how big the Hive Tyrant is compared to how little the Commissar Lord is. Another flare goes down. I don't know. I guess, obviously, flare does reduce range on units. And that will allow it so that Peacemaker's units get to shoot. And, oh, we have a grenade going down. Probably going to take out a few Termagant models. Wow, 4 Termagants dead right there. So much range firepower from Peacemaker. And now he's also got a melee unit, too. And this Brood Nest will go down. But Dullahan still has this one back here. Peacemaker should also take out these capillary towers while he has the opportunity, and he is doing exactly that. Dullahan says, this is what happens when I build too much power. And what he means is, he has a secondary power farm over here, but he's got a massive power float, 400, almost 450, but only 250 requisition. And neither of these players have much requisition because they are both bleeding so much, taking so many losses, and both of them are using so many globals. We've had like 5 flares, like 4 capillary towers, and like 4 brood nests. And unfortunately, Dullahan blobbing up too much, and he's getting his whole army disrupted by the Catachan Devils. And the Venom Brood is kind of backed off a little bit. Looks like Peacemaker has backed off with his Chimera because it does need repairs. But meanwhile, Dullahan is actually backcapping again. He seems to be... It seems like now Dullahan is losing the fights in the middle, so he's going for the backcap. He's even going for a Power Bash. Power Bash really is useful, not just for bashing power, but also for the red that you can get. It's easy red. And both these players are using a lot of red. I think the Guardsmen could afford to upgrade to plasma guns. I mean, right now they can't afford it literally, but that is an upgrade that they might want to get, just because that will definitely significantly increase their damage against the Venom, both the Venom Brood and the Warrior Brood, while keeping their... Actually, it would even be a slight increase against the Termagants and the Hormagaunts, but only very slight. Mostly only worth it for the Venom Brood and the Warrior Brood. Another flare goes down to make it so that Peacemaker's units can shoot because they have long range, while these Termagants cannot. And we're getting a full retreat from Dullahan. Not very good, considering that means both of these Brood Nests should go down. Now this one goes down, and these Ogrins will turn around and take out this Brood Nest. And now Peacemaker is going to get a 3-cap. He's been losing on the victory points for most of the game. And it's mostly just been a huge slugfest in the middle right here. Mostly a fight over the middle. I could probably just leave the screen in the middle right here for most of the game, and that would be it. I wouldn't even have to move it that much, and you wouldn't miss much. Meanwhile, over here, though, Peacemaker apparently got a decap on Dullahan's power, which is not going to matter that much, because Dullahan already has over 500 power and no requisition to get anything else. Dullahan is getting a Tyrant Guard, though. That could help him out a lot. That could make the difference. Super heavy infantry unit of his own, especially right now. The only unit that Peacemaker really has that would be effective against the Tyrant Guard would be the Ogrins and also the Commissar Lord, but everything else is only doing piercing damage, which has a severe penalty to heavy infantry armor. Dullahan shooting up these mines. Since he has the time and the opportunity and the sight, he doesn't want them to go off while he's trying to fight. Tyrant Guard running up right now. Now would be a really good time, though, for Peacemaker to save up to get the plasma guns on his Guardsmen. That would actually make the Tyrant Guard's life tough and short. I mean, even these Assault Kit Stormtroopers not going to be that good against the Tyrant Guard. Basically, the damage reduction for for piercing damage against super heavy infantry armor. It's basically the modifier is 0.3, so that means any squad that does piercing damage does 30% of its normal damage against the Tyrant Guard. So that's not very good. So Stormtroopers do about 75 damage normally. Against the Tyrant Guard, they're only doing something like 23. And then the Tyrant Guard has a pretty large HP pool. And by damage, I actually mean DPS. So 75 DPS would go down to about 23. And this Chimera hasn't died yet. Chimera level 3. And I think both of these sides are going to have a lot of levels. Let's take a look at Dullahan. So he's got only a level 3 Hive Tyrant, but he does have the Crushing Claw, heavy melee damage, will do damage to that Chimera if he can get the Hive Tyrant close enough. Hormagaun's level 3, Termagant's level 4, Termagant's level 4, Warrior Brood level 3, almost level 4. Even the Venom Brood is level 3. I don't even know what it's been killing. Tyrant Guard, only level 1, but it just came out on the field. Guardsman level 4, Guardsman level 4, Catachan Devil's level 4, Stormtroopers level 3, Chimera level 3, and then Ogryn's only level 1, but almost level 2. And now with the Meltagun on the Catachan Devils and the Plasma Guns on the Guardsmen, that Tyrant Guard does go down. The Tyrant Guard was well countered at that point with a Plasma Gun, Meltagun also doing bonus damage to super heavy infantry. Smoke Bomb goes down there. I thought we'd get a retreat from those Guardsmen, but we actually got a Smoke Bomb so that Cap could finish. And I swear this Chimera has even been at less than half health for most of the game, much like the way that Sentinel was only at like 25% health. But meanwhile, Dullahan is keeping himself in this game by backcapping with his Hormagaunts and even doing a Power Bash over here, giving him more red so he can get more of these Brood Nests and Capillary Towers. We are going to get maybe a Power Bash from Peacemaker. He could do it very quickly. Just one volley, one ranged volley from all these units. Took that power generator down to like 60% health. Another one took it down to like 45. He could stay in there and just kill those power generators. Obviously, it wouldn't matter that much to Dullahan because Dullahan has 660 power, does not need any more power, needs Requisition. But it would help give Peacemaker more red so that he can use more flares and Commissar mines. And a Brood Nest goes down here to keep the Hormagaunts to reinforce against this Commissar Lord. Commissar might actually have to go. More fighting going down over here. Ogryn's a little out of position. Gonna have to retreat. Warrior Brood level 4 has 2,400 health. And then the Hive Tyrant over here is certainly going to do a lot of damage to these Ogryns. These Ogryns may get wiped. Oh, and it's really sad to see those Ogryns go. And then while I was watching Ogryns die, we also had the death of the Chimera, which was also very sad. It was at level 3, maybe even level 4 by the time it died. Very sad to see that go. That's going to be a big win for Dullahan because both these guys were just kind of slugging it out using the staying power that they would get from their on-field reinforcement points. Dullahan from these Brood Nests, but Commissar, the Peacemaker from that Chimera. Obviously, the Chimera is, in a way, it's better in some ways. It can actually do damage. It's a reinforcement point that shoots. It also has a vehicle armor, so it's a bit harder to kill, and it's also mobile, so it's a bit harder to kill. On the other hand, it's a bigger expenditure, and obviously these Brood Nests have been just being thrown down left and right. 3 on the field right now, and something like 6 or 7 total from Dullahan. That's on top of the Capillary Towers that he's been putting down, so he's been getting a lot of red. So has Peacemaker, and that Brood Nest does go down, unfortunately. Unfortunately for Dullahan, at least, but fortunately for Peacemaker. But Peacemaker's thing now is that he has a Manticore, and he's getting another Chimera. This new Chimera won't be as durable. It'll only have something like... The standard health for the Chimera is 500. We saw that level 3 Chimera had 661, so a level 4 Chimera is probably going to have over 700. But now this Manticore is going to do really good. Manticore, just a really good unit overall. Pretty good against Tyranids because they tend to blob up, and they have lots of low-model, high HP squads. We had a Gene Stealer Brood, such a good unit, but it went down from the Commissar. And this Commissar, great use from the Commissar. A lot of good micro from Peacemaker. I mean, he did lose his Sentinel. He did lose his Chimera, but he kept them alive for a long time, even when they were very low on health. But he kept them in play so that they would still have an influence on the battle. And I think that micro from Peacemaker has actually been doing very well to keep him in this game, even though he's been on the back end or the back foot or the back whatever of the victory points the entire game. Commissar in here will probably have to go at this point, or he might get wiped. Might get wiped anyway. Oh, this brood nest at 1 HP needs to go down. They just need to turn around and shoot. Shoot the brood nest. We need something. Oh, and it just goes down randomly. We do have another brood nest and this Chimera back on the field. So, Peacemaker, obviously, he suffered some big losses, losing the Ogrins and his first Chimera, but he has a new Chimera out on the field, and it's looking good with this Manticore. Manticore, just a really good unit. Definitely going to very quickly turn a lot of these fights in favor of Peacemaker. And Peacemaker is actually managing to go tier 3. Both the players have been bleeding a ton from losing so many units and just letting them reinforce on the field. But now Peacemaker is pressing his advantage. Going to be in tier 3. Can get some, maybe a tank. We have a capillary tower going down right here. Dullahan's use of the capillary towers have been interesting, to say the least. Maybe less than optimal, because he could be using that to actually disrupt. He could actually be using that to disrupt Peacemaker's units. Another brood nest goes down, and then instantly gets destroyed, or maybe just canceled. Grenade. Oh, one of the termagants actually got knocked back into the grenade, and we have a GG from Dullahan. Still winning on the victory points. But maybe at this point with the Manticore, he knows he's going to struggle too much with the Manticore on the field. And that is the end of the game. A victory from Peacemaker. I like this game. I normally don't like either of these races, but I think we had some very interesting play. Some good micro, certainly from Peacemaker. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.